Revealed, my spine-chilling journey as a cursed demon hunter at Camp X. A terrifying Exposé's sun had dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the meticulously manicured lawns of Maplewood. It seemed impossible that anything sinister could hide in such a perfect suburb. But behind those white picket fences and smiling neighbors lay something dark and forbidding, the haunting Camp X. My heart raced, and each step I took toward those woods felt like stepping onto a tightrope, teetering above a void of fear. "This is it," I whispered, my fingers trembling around my notebook. The night was alive with rustling leaves and distant hoots of owls, but the air carried a chill that seeped through my skin. That it all began the night Danny saw the shadow. I shrugged off his fears as childhood nightmares, but something twisted in my gut, gnawing at me. The flickering lights from our neighbors' homes started to feel like a warning, and whispers floated past me on the wind, imploring me to listen. But to what? The ordinary plenty around us wore a mask, a facade that shattered my sense of safety. Risk crept down my spine, a creeping dread that begged me to uncover the truth about Camp X. Before we continued, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each summer night brought a stronger sense of unease. The laughter of children felt forced, stretching too wide, masking more than just fear. My parents remained lost in their routines, blissfully unaware of the lives hanging by threads just beneath the surface. I couldn't ignore the tightness in my chest any longer. My neighborhood, my home, was crumbling away before my eyes. I had to take Danny's fears seriously, for him, before it was too late. Together, we ventured into the darkened woods that led to Camp X. The very trees seemed to lean closer, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky as if warning us to turn back. Shadows danced like wraiths, stretching and contorting in ways that twisted my insides into knots. As we stepped deeper, the echo of our footsteps faded, replaced by a sinister silence broken only by the crunching of twigs underfoot. And then we stumbled upon a forgotten altar covered in dust and decaying leaves. Faded photographs of smiling children hung like ghosts in the air, their joy suffocated by the chilling atmosphere. I felt like prey, something cold wrapping around my heart as I recalled the stories children who once played here only to mysteriously vanish. Whispered tales rustling through Maplewood like dry leaves in the wind. Suddenly, the whispered voices grew louder, echoing in my ears as if breathing life into the horror of our surroundings. "There are more of us than you think," a voice coiled around me, shadowy and sinister, as I turned to find the source. Panic surged through every sinew of my body. I was not alone. As terror enveloped us. Each breath felt heavier, the air thick with the weight of secrets best left undisturbed. In that moment, I knew we had stumbled into something far more dangerous than a childhood myth, a living nightmare tethered to our pasts. Why was this camp abandoned? What price had been exacted by the parents who claimed to be looking out for us? And above all, who or what truly haunted Camp X? The question loomed over me, dark and unnerving, just as a shadow lunged from the darkness. I could hardly think, but somehow, I understood the fight for our survival had just begun. The shadow lunged toward us with a speed that sent ice coursing through my veins. I barely had time to scream before it enveloped me, a dark mass swirling around my body, draining the warmth I so desperately clung to. Danny was beside me, his breath coming in sharp gasps, his wide eyes reflecting the terror of our situation. "Run!" I shouted, collapsing to the ground as the shadow's grip tightened. It felt like raw power swirling around me, a grotesque force that whispered ancient secrets into my ear, horrors better left buried. I could see Danny's silhouette merging into the darkness, running back the way we came, arms pumping like a frightened bird trying to escape a predator. But I was locked in place. The very ground beneath me shuddered, roots grasping at my sneakers. With every shaky breath, I tried to anchor my thoughts. I had studied these tales. I had seen the warnings. The altar, the whispers, it was all real. "Let go," I gasped, clawing at the thick, choking air. The shadows receded slightly, just enough to allow me a glimpse of what hovered before me. A figure cloaked in swirling darkness, its face obscured but its presence palpable, exuding a suffocating dread. I felt as if a weight was pressing against my chest, forcing the air from my lungs. I had two options: freeze in place or fight. Instinct kicked in. I pulled my notebook from my pocket. I had taken countless hours to study the evils that prowled these woods. I flipped the pages, hoping that my amateur sketches of protective sigils and incantations would somehow help. With a shaky hand, I began to scrawl the symbols into the dirt, speaking the murmurs of protection I had memorized. My voice trembled, but I pushed through the trembling. The shadow writhed, hesitating as if it recognized the ancient words. Encouraged, I continued, pouring my fear into the dread-laden incantation. The gloom pulsed, dark and threatening, but I refused to be silenced. I could feel the shadows retreating slightly, and hope sparked within me like a single light in a pitch-black room. And then, a chilling laugh echoed around me, a voice layered with malice. "You think words can save you?" It hissed, the darkness swirling unnaturally as if mocking my feeble attempts. I could hear Danny calling me from the distance, but it felt muffled, like I was submerged underwater. I had to break free. I had to end this soul-chilling nightmare before it consumed us both. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the clearing just for a moment, but enough for me to see the flickering forms of what might have been children, their faces distorted, pleading. My heart thudded loudly in my ears. Were these their souls, trapped by the very shadows I was trying to banish? "Please help us," they whispered, unity rising in desperation, echoing against the thrum of darkness that surrounded me. They were here, caught in a web of regret and sorrow, a warning wrapped in sorrowful cries. I felt the shadows tightening again, their grip growing colder. "This ends now," I shouted, and with an urgency I didn't know I possessed, I reached deeper into my vertigo-filled mind, recalling one final plea for protection. The sigil I had drawn began to glow faintly, pushing against the encroaching tendrils as they shrieked, and then nothing. Silence fell heavy in the air. My heart stopped. Had it worked? I dared not move, the tension coiling tightly around my chest. Just when I thought I had vanished into the night, a sudden surge of shadows gathered before me, forming a grotesque shape, all eyes glaring like beacons of hatred. "Why did you come here? You could have stayed safe." The voice dripped with venom, and yet held a childlike whimsy, the kind that twists joy into something grotesque. Danny's scream echoed in the far distance, snapping me back to the reality that we were still in danger. I had come in search of answers, but those answers danced just beyond my reach, taunting me like a child playing hide and seek. There were secrets within the darkness, waiting. I felt the remnants of hope slipping. Was it possible to save Danny now? My legs screamed to move, just as the shadows lunged toward me once more. The nightmare was far from over. I had to keep going. What was waiting just beyond the veil of darkness? I felt the urgency pulse through my veins as the shadowy form lunged again, ready to consume. The shadows swelled around me, a nightmare come to life, eagerly preparing to engulf every ounce of light I cherished within me. I could feel the icy breath of the creature on my skin, its whisper curling around my ears, tempting me to surrender. But I wouldn't give in. I shut my eyes, focusing on Danny's voice echoing in desperate fragments. "Breathe, just breathe," I urged myself, determination flooding my body. When I finally opened my eyes, something shifted. The darkness shuddered, revealing grotesque shapes writhing within it, twisting and coiling as if preparing for a feast. A primal instinct kicked in. I rolled to my side, slipping free from the shadow's grasp. The damp earth slipped under my fingers as I scrambled to my feet, every nerve screaming for me to flee. The clearing loomed with menace, towering trees twisting like gnarled fingers against the eerie glow of the moon overhead. I had to keep moving. I bolted deeper into the woods, the shadows trailing close behind, hungry whispers clawing at my back. "You cannot escape, we are everywhere," they echoed in mocking harmony, laughter mingling with the wind. I stumbled and nearly fell, but caught myself just in time, the trees closing in like a nightmare that wouldn't let go. "Danny!" I shouted, desperate, witching it into the darkness. There was silence, and my heart sank as fear coursed like ice through my veins. Had he managed to escape? Then, through the throbbing silence, I heard a faint, anguished cry that chilled me to the bone. It was Danny. My legs pushed harder, adrenaline coursing through me, guiding me toward the sound. The trees blurred around me, and every instinct knew I was racing against time. I could barely keep my thoughts together. Panic was threatening to overwhelm me. I stumbled into a clearing. The altar glowed ominously under the pale moonlight. The shadows swirled violently above it, forming grotesque faces that sneered down at me. At the base of the altar, I saw him, Danny, struggling against the very roots ensnaring him, an anguished expression twisting his face. "Help!" he gasped, every syllable full of raw terror. It's hurting me." My heart shattered. I rushed toward him, but the shadows lunged, ready to intercept me. With a swift motion, I grabbed a handful of dirt, my last hope. "I will save you, Danny. I swear." I called out over the shrieks of darkness, my voice trembling but resolute. In a moment of instinct, I hurled the dirt toward the altar. "Go away. You have no power here," I screamed, each word fueled with desperation. A vortex of light erupted, and the shadows recoiled, slicing through the air like an unbearable scream. Danny screamed too, his voice mingled in confusion and fear, echoed by the dark forces swirling before him. The ground rumbled, and the shrine pulsed as if awakening from a long slumber. Suddenly, the shadows split, and the sinister laugh returned, more explosive, more furious than before. "You think you can take him?" It boomed, an unearthly growl laced with mockery. "He belongs to us now." I had survived one battle, but this felt like the turning of tides. The shadows surged, threatening to consume us both, weaving around our legs, anchoring us in dark despair. "Danny!" I shouted, panic fueling each desperate syllable, but he was trapped. Could there be a way to sever these binds? What ancient secrets were hidden in the altar? Then, I spotted a faint shimmer at the base of the scattered remains. A piece of metal glinted, reminiscent of the protective rune I'd drawn earlier. Hope surged through me. I could feel my heartbeat in time with the throbbing darkness, and with renewed determination, I willed myself to break the cycle of despair. I lunged for the piece, knowing failure would seal our fate. Would I find the power to save us both, or would the shadows finally claim victory? The air thickened as I grasped it with trembling fingers, and a shrill cry erupted around me. The endgame was upon us. The moment my fingers brushed the cold metal, a surge of energy crackled through me. It was like lightning, raw, electric, and filled with potential. The shadows recoiled, an instinctual reaction to the unexpected force, and I felt a flicker of hope ignite within my chest. "Hang on, Danny," I yelled, clutching the metal piece tightly. Its surface felt engraved with symbols, ancient and powerful, pulsing with a rhythm that synced with the frantic beating of my heart. If I could channel whatever power it held, perhaps I could turn the tide against the encroaching darkness. The shadows writhed angrily, their forms coiling like serpents, eager to strike. "You think that trinket can save you?" The voice mocked, soaring above the cacophony. It was as if the very air grew thicker with dread, pushing against my chest, suffocating in its intensity. With each breath, I felt the shadows tightening, snaking around my legs like the roots dragging Danny down. I couldn't let despair take me. I raised the metal piece in front of me, the symbols glowing faintly in the moonlight. "I command you," I shouted, channeling every ounce of my will into those words. "Release him." The shadows seethed, the laughter turning stilted, their malice peeling back just enough to reveal something darker. The base of the altar shuddered beneath me, as if caught in a battle for its own existence. I could sense the power of the altar, a deep, ancient force that craved authenticity. It was a reminder of something buried deep in my family's past, a connection I had always overlooked. "Danny, focus on me," I cried, my voice razor-sharp over the chaos. He looked up, his eyes wide with fear, but beneath that was a flicker of recognition. I could see him fighting against the numbing pull of the shadows, the roots loosening, inch by agonizing inch. The shadows hissed, their forms changing, twisting into monstrous faces that taunted us, spitting venomous words. "Why fight for him, little girl? Your actions mean nothing here. He is ours, a vessel for our hunger." But fear sharpened my resolve. I pressed the metal piece against the altar, feeling heat radiate beneath my palm. I'm not letting him go, I bellowed, the strength of my voice pushing back against their power. As if the very earth responded, the ground trembled, and the shadows recoiled further. Light erupted from the metal, flooding the clearing in an overwhelming wave that swallowed the darkness, puncturing it with shards of brilliant white. I dared to catch Danny's gaze again. Hold on. But just as the shadows dissipated, a horrific scream shattered the night. It echoed through the trees, more beast than human. Everything twisted in confusion as the dark specters began to dissolve, but one large figure materialized, clawing its way through the remnants of its brethren. It was massive, a grotesque amalgamation of all the darkness, sporting twisted limbs and glimmering eyes like smoldering coals. It roared, the sound shaking the ground beneath us. You think you can break me? It thundered, drawing air like a serpent preparing to strike. You cannot escape your fate. Danny's roots gripped tighter, and I felt the dread pooling in my stomach. I was running out of time. But then, an idea pierced through my fear. Was it possible the metal could challenge even this monstrous entity? What if the altar held secrets I had only begun to understand? As I squared my stance, the shadows circled, thick and angry. I raised the glowing metal again, this time feeling the full weight of my heritage, of the bloodlines that fought before me, giving me strength. Together, Danny, I yelled, we can defeat it. The next moment was critical. The shadows surged once more, but this time, we charged against them. Would this be our redemption, or would the darkness consume us entirely? Then came the blinding light, and I knew that fate was no longer in our hands. The light swallowed everything. I felt the warmth of it wrap around me like a comforting blanket, but the sensation disintegrated as pain shot through my legs. The ground quaked violently beneath me, as if the very earth could no longer bear the weight of this battle. Stay with me, Danny. I gasped, my voice strained. The shadows fought back, clawing at the brilliant glow. But the torrent of light pulsed stronger, illuminating the twisted figure that loomed ahead. It was a nightmare made flesh, each tortured limb a reminder of despair. Foolish girl, the beast growled, its voice throaty and mocking. You think mere light can banish me? I am darkness incarnate. Each time the beast lunged, Danny screamed. The roots constricted tighter, wrestling him down into a hollow of despair. I won't let you take him, I shouted, desperation fueling my resolve. I focused on the metal piece, drawing from its energy, its pulse quickening with my own. Now, I breathed out, the word a battle cry. I swung the metal toward the monster, channeling every ounce of determination and rage. The darkness howled, a sound that threatened to burst my eardrums. But then something unexpected happened. The shadows surged backward, recoiling as if struck by a sudden wave. Impossible. The beast screeched, stumbling. It had never encountered this force before. My heart raced, every beat echoing the victory I could barely comprehend. The shadows shifted, the weight of fear lightening for a moment. I seized that flicker of hope. Danny, I can feel you. Fight. You're stronger than this. His eyes locked with mine, wide with both terror and determination. The roots loosened slightly, a testament to his will. If I could just strengthen his spirit, we could break free together. The thought of it ignited something deep within me. The beast, panicking, lashed out, dark tendrils whipping through the air, seeking to reclaim its hold. I will feed on your despair. It roared, its voice a cacophony of anger and hunger. I raised the metal piece high, the symbols burning with brilliance. No, you will not, I screamed, summoning every fragment of strength from the heart of the altar. The air thickened with energy, crackling like a storm unleashed. In the heart of that swirling chaos, the glow intensified. A cyclone of light erupted from the metal, throwing shadows into retreat. And as the edges of the light began to stretch, I saw Danny's face illuminated, twisting in determination. Together, he bellowed, drawing up what was left of his strength. In that moment, the light became a bridge between us. I felt his energy surge, syncing with my own, blending and reinforcing. The pain in my legs dulled, the cloud of despair lifting, replaced by an exhilarating clarity. Now let us finish this, I declared, and with a monumental effort, we hurled the combined force of our will and light at the monstrous figure. For the first time, it faltered, its twisted body contorting as if it were but a mere shadow before the sun. And then it roared again, an agonizing, shattering sound that reverberated through the forest, rattling the trees. I could taste the familiar metallic tang of fear in the air, a weight I had always known, but never felt so intensely. The world was closing in, shadows creeping back as the force of the attack began to dissipate. The beast rallied, lunging forward, its eyes burning with fury. Panic surged within me as I realized we were exposed, vulnerable to its wrath. That I glanced at Danny, his features carved in determination. Strength was pooling, but would it be enough? Before I could think, the air grew heavy again with malevolence as the beast amassed for one final strike. "We can't stop now," I shouted, my voice breaking through the chaos. But in that moment of fragile hope, something cold and oily crawled up my spine, a fleeting whisper of despair, drawing me back into the shadows. "Fate is not done with you yet," the specter hissed as the darkness surged. My breath quickened, a chill seeping into my bones. Was this truly our end? Or could the light yet hold the keys to our salvation? As the beast lunged, teeth glinting like daggers, a terrifying thought rung through my mind. What price would we have to pay to truly escape? The world exploded into chaos as the beast lunged. Time seemed to flicker erratically, a strobe of dread and desperation. I felt Danny's grip tighten on my wrist, adrenaline coursing through his veins. There wasn't much time. The darkness loomed closer, its rancid breath washing over us like a frigid wave. I raised the metal piece again, its glow surging, but it felt less potent now. The beast roared, rage echoing through the trees, shaking the very foundations of our resolve. "Hold on, Danny," I cried, as the ground above us trembled, jagged roots reaching like gnarled fingers. They busted through the earth, wanting to ensnare us again. In that dreadful moment, an overwhelming feeling of betrayal washed over me. I felt this same sensation before, lurking beneath the surface of my reality. How many times had I underestimated the darkness? "Fight it," I urged Danny, feeling his heartbeat synchronize wildly with mine. His fear was palpable, a living thing that crawled into my chest and lodged itself deep. "I can't," he stuttered, but I didn't have time for his doubts. Fear tightened around us like a noose. I needed him to believe. The ground trembled violently, and the beast faced us, its form unreadable, every shadow twisting and warping with a sinister flicker. "You think you can defeat me with mere light?" It mocked, its serpent-like body undulating like a tidal wave that I could barely hear Danny's whispered prayer mingling with the cracking air. I placed my hand over the metal piece, focusing on the warmth radiating from it. A spark grounded me, igniting a cascade of memories filled with strength, our shared laughter, our determination to conquer together. "Let it go?" I screamed, my voice raw. "Trust me, Danny. We are stronger together." His eyes sought mine, searching for belief where fear had taken root. And then, something shifted. The glow of the metal surged beneath my fingers like an awakening star. Danny's grip on reality strengthened, and for a heartbeat, I caught a glimpse of the boy I had fought so hard to save. The beast laughed, a twisted sound that churned my stomach. "You think this is strength? You are foolish. Soon, you will know despair like no other." With a wild scream, an otherworldly roar pierced the air. I instinctively fell back, the darkness weaving its tendrils, grasping, clawing for our souls. I felt the ground give way beneath me, and I was tumbling into an abyss. "Danny," I gasped, panic slicing through my heart. The soil below crumbled into a gaping maw, a black hole of despair hungry for our souls. Desperation bubbled up in me, the light flickering with the rhythm of my heart. I couldn't let it in like this. Not now. I anchored myself again, determined not to let go of him. "Together, break the chains of darkness," I shouted, the light vibrating in resonance with my words. With primal energy, Danny let out a cry that shattered the silence. It was raw, timeless. The shadows around us reacted, flinching, retreating just enough for us to gather strength. But as the light pushed forward, another voice emerged from the ether, distinct and separate from the beast's fury. "You can't run from fate," it crooned, the bitterness of its tone curling around us, taking residence in my mind. "Fate is relentless, and I am its herald." The world shifted as blinding streaks tore through the darkness. I clutched to the metal with every ounce of strength I had left. The shadows fought back, coiling tighter around our ankles, pulling us deeper. Could light truly save us? Could it overcome the web of darkness pulling us down? The terror of that realization sent my heart racing. There was something lurking behind those words. Something far worse than we had ever encountered. Screams were swallowed in the cacophony of despair as the shadows coalesced, their laughter echoing mockingly. Your struggle is futile, and just as I began to comprehend the terror that would follow, an icy grip took hold of my throat. A choice surged forth, clear as day, as if carved into time itself. Were we ready to pay the price to escape? What awaited us on the other side of the darkness? The shadows pulsed, and from somewhere deep, the darkness spread wide. The darkness swallowed us whole, a suffocating curtain that enveloped every sound, every flicker of light. The icy grip around my throat tightened, constricting my breaths until desperation clawed at my chest. What had I unleashed? What price would we pay to escape? Danny, I cried, but my voice barely pierced the suffocating silence. His presence wavered, a flickering silhouette just out of reach. Panic surged within me, pulling me further into the void, drowning out rational thought. Look for the light. The voice whispered again, slithering into my mind, disguising it as a lifeline. I fought against it, against the fear of losing myself entirely. I concentrated on the warmth of the metal piece, praying it still held the power to guide us through this nightmare. With a barely perceptible pulse beneath my palm, the metal piece flickered, responding to my fear and desperation. I wished for a sense of clarity in this chaos. It felt like a cruel joke, a relentless game of shadows and light. The echo of laughter surrounded us, deeper and more malicious than before. You think you control the light? The voice cooed, a mocking melody dripping with disdain. You're just pawns in a game that's centuries old. You can't outsmart fate. In that chilling moment, I could see our fears reflected in the shadows, monstrous forms creeping close, their eyes glinting with unspeakable hunger. I could feel their breath, cold as winter's chill, brushing against my skin. This was not just a battle for survival, it was a reckoning. Danny, I shouted again, frustration simmering as I fought against the despair that threatened to pull us under. You have to fight. I don't know if I can. His voice cracked, shivering through the dark like a dying ember. Just believe. For a fleeting second, I felt his palm against mine, the warmth igniting hope even in the depths of despair. I needed that connection. We needed to anchor each other, but it felt like everything was slipping away. The shadows writhed, boiling around us, whispering secrets of guilt and anguish. You are not worthy, they hissed, wrapping tighter around our limbs, dragging us down into the churning darkness. You have failed. Choking back a scream, I fought against their murmurs. Together, we can overcome this. The metal flared, drawing upon our desperation, a fragile lifeline to keep the darkness at bay. Suddenly, Danny's voice rose, stronger and steadier. I won't give up. We fight together. A surge of power rippled through me, surge and push, light and dark entwining fiercely. And then everything shattered. A blinding light erupted between us, radiating outward as if the very core of our resolve ignited into a million dazzling stars. The shadows recoiled, hissing. No, this isn't how it ends. But the force of our combined wills surged like a tidal wave, pushing against the darkness. I felt the grip around my throat disappear, replaced by a dizzying sense of flight as we soared upward, tumbling through the air, caught between realms. But even as the light expanded around us, I could hear the ominous whispers growing louder, echoing through the chaos. Fate is coming for you, and then, without warning, the ground vanished beneath us. We plunged into a void, a freefall that felt endless, screaming the names of our loved ones into the abyss. This wasn't just unfathomable darkness anymore. It was a chasm, a grave for the helpless. And each scream returned to us as an echo of our despair, each futile attempt at escape a reminder of our impending doom. My heart hammered in my chest. Would we finally meet our end? Or was this just the beginning of something far worse? Before I could think further, the void cracked, splitting open as light slipped through the fissures to reveal glimpses of a world far beyond. a reality drenched in shadows and light, a world I couldn't comprehend. And as we hurtled toward it, all I could think was what had awaited us on the other side. We hit the ground with a bone-jarring thud, the light blinking out like a candle snuffed by the wind. Darkness clung to us once more, ominous and thick. I blinked wildly, trying to adjust to the blackness, panic gnawing at my insides. "Danny?" My voice trembled as I scrambled to push myself upright. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and a bitter chill filled the space around us. I could almost see him. Just ahead, a shadow shifted. "Are you there?" A whimper broke the silence, low and guttural. "I'm here," he gasped, his breath quick, ragged. I reached for him, but as I stepped forward, something beneath my foot crunched, splintering with a sickening crack. I pulled back, dread dripping into my stomach like ice. "Just stay close," Danny said, his voice barely above a whisper, a haunting plea that echoed my own fear. The shadows closed in again, whispering taunts that slithered into my mind. "What will you do now, lost ones? You are but echoes, shadows in a forgotten world." A rumble sounded from somewhere deep in the gloom, filling me with dread. The ground trembled beneath us, not a solid surface, but a deceptive expanse of what once might have been. The very fabric of reality felt unstable, as if it were about to rip apart at any moment. "Where are we?" Danny choked out, his voice quaking. Before I could answer, the whispers crescendoed, morphing into chaotic laughter. I could only see flickers of shapes creeping into view, blacker than night, their forms writhing and undulating as they drew closer. "You thought you could escape? You thought you held the light? Your hope is a joke." "No," I screamed, clenching the metal object tightly, feeling its warmth pulse against my skin. "You can't have us." A terrifying silence fell, making it seem as if the very air had thickened. I could feel the tension stretch taut, like the moment before a lightning strike. Then, a flash, a split-second barricade from the oppressive dread. I caught a glimpse of Danny's face shimmering in an ethereal glow, determination etched across his features. "We have to fight, like before. We have our light. We are not afraid." The shadows recoiled momentarily, but they surged back, a wave of darkness, drowning out even Danny's light. "Join us," they hissed, their voices tugging at the edges of my sanity. "Embrace the void, you belong here. You cannot fight your fate." "No," I shouted, my heart hammering wildly. "We've come too far." I thrust the metal piece forward, feeling a surge of energy flow through me. The glow intensified, rays bursting forth, cutting through the thick veil of darkness. Flashes of visions bombarded my senses. Faces of long-gone friends, memories of laughter, cries of anguish, everything swirled into a tormenting storm. "You can't bury us," I cried. "We are still here." The shadows seethed, their laughter mingling with the echoes of lost memories. "But what of those we love? They are already lost. All you have is despair." Danny stepped beside me, bracing himself against the swell of darkness. "We can't let them win. Remember the warmth." The metal piece blazed again, its light pushing outward, grasping for a way to cut through the despair. Yet, as the shadows thrashed violently, I felt the ground shake beneath us. The laughter transformed into shrieks, raw and anguished. "Let go of the past. Embrace your fate." Before I could respond, the floor split open, a gaping maw beckoning us downward, a pit swirling with black smoke and flickering shadows. "No," I screamed, but the treachery of the ground pulled us helplessly into its depths. As we fell, the shadows closed in, their cold grasp reaching for us like skeletal hands wanting to claim our souls. I could still hear Danny's voice, a lifeline, a beacon. "Hold on to each other. We are not alone." But even as I grasped his hand, I could sense the anxious whispers growing louder, the darkness eager to smother our resolve. Our scream rang out, mingling with that eternal laughter, as a chilling question sank deep: did we truly have a chance, or were we already lost forever? The descent felt endless, like plunging into a nightmare. A cacophony of howling terror enveloped us as shadows twisted into nightmarish shapes. I clung to Danny, panic surging through me like a tidal wave. "We can't let go," I shouted, the words spilling from my lips as if to drown the chaos around us. Just when I thought we would be swallowed whole, we landed on a surface that felt like wet earth, soft yet unyielding. The air shifted, heavy with an acrid scent that burned at my nostrils. We lay there for a moment, gasping, the harsh laughter echoing in the dark. "Get up," Danny hissed, urgency throwing him to his feet. I followed instinctively, dragging myself up, my heart pounding furiously. The only light came from the still glowing metal piece, casting eerie shadows around us. "Where are we?" My voice shook again, and I regretted the question as the laughter returned in maddening bursts, reverberating from unseen mouths. "You thought the pit was a choice?" The voices jeered, each syllable dripping with disdain. "You're simply moving deeper into our world." A pulse of anger ignited in Danny. "This isn't your world. We are not afraid of you." He brandished the metal piece like a sword, its light shimmering defiantly against the creeping darkness. For a moment, the shadows recoiled, retreating into the corners. That flicker of hope twisted my gut. "We can outlast them," I dared to whisper, but the shadows were already slinking back, hungry for our despair. Suddenly, a shape emerged from the gloom, hulking and distorted. A face pushed through, one that twisted and morphed, memories flickering in its features. My heart sank as I recognized it, an old friend long lost, twisted into something grotesque. "Join us," it beckoned, its voice a sinister chant. "You'll find peace here. Why struggle?" "Shut up," I screamed, feeling the metal stir in my hand. "You're not real." The laughter morphed again, high-pitched, like nails on a chalkboard. "Oh, but you wish we were. Each face is a fragment of your guilt, your regret." A cold sweat dripped down my spine as another figure joined the first, then another. Each whispered a sickening cadence of memories, moments I wished to forget, but could not. Despair coiled around my heart, a serpent tightening its grip. "Focus." Danny's voice sliced through my brewing panic. "Remember what we fought for." Breathless, I squeezed his hand, the warmth grounding me amid the chilling embrace of those tormented figures. "Yes, we have each other. We're still here." With renewed fervor, we raised the glowing metal, its light bursting forth like a beacon slicing through fog. The shadows shrieked, contorting and writhing as the light scorched their forms. Yet, they surged forward again, relentless and ravenous. "Don't let them in," Danny shouted, his face a mix of determination and terror. "They feed on fear." Just then, the ground quaked violently beneath us, sending us tumbling backward. The darkness howled, closing in like an inescapable maw. I could feel hopelessness seep into my bones, the whispers welcoming me to the dark embrace they promised. "Hold on." There was a flicker of resistance in Danny's eyes. "We can find a way out. Remember the light." I tried to focus, squinting through the chaos to see beyond the writhing mass of despair. A faint spark glimmered in the distance, flickering like a candle in the storm. "There." I pointed, my voice cracking. "Let us go," Danny yelled, his courage spilling over, sparking a fire within me. We started running, hearts pounding, racing toward that glimmering hope. But the shadows followed us like a torrent, shrieking our names, echoing that haunting laughter, trying to drag us back. As we drew closer, I felt a sudden jarring sensation, something dark and cold gripping at my ankles. The shadows were not only following, they were reaching out to pull us back. "Danny," I gasped, fighting against their unyielding grasp. But the flicker of light pulsed like a heartbeat, calling us closer. I could almost feel its warmth against my skin, urging me forward. "We can break through. We have to." Suddenly, Danny jerked back, a scream caught in his throat. I whipped around, frantic. "No, Danny." He was being pulled, shadows wrapping around him like vines strangling a tree. "Go. Don't look back," he cried. Desperation painting his features, a wrenching choice loomed before me: save him or chase the light. Heart pounding, I fought against the urge to turn back, the darkness clawing at me, whispering, promising peace if I gave in. But I could still hear Danny, his voice mingled with the darkness, echoing in my thoughts. Taking a deep breath, I sprinted toward the light, the shadows swirling around us in a desperate frenzy. And just as the light enveloped me, the last shred of Danny's voice rose above all else, a haunting, anguished cry that shattered my heart. Would I ever find him again? In that blinding moment, questions raged in my mind. Had we truly abandoned him? Or was there still a chance? What lay beyond that light? Could it be a true escape, or merely another trap waiting to ensnare us? The light enveloped me, a crushing embrace that felt like freedom and suffocation all at once. I stumbled forward, the shadows thrashing behind me, snarling in fury as I left them behind. Their wrath echoed in my bones, rattling my resolve. But Danny's anguished scream replayed in my mind, haunting the edges of my liberation. "Danny!" I cried out, desperation lacing my voice. Had he truly been pulled back into the abyss? My heart raced. How could I face this light without him? My feet felt heavy, the warmth enveloping me somehow lacking the fervor I had envisioned. Why did it feel so empty? But from within that blinding haze, a figure flickered to life. It took form and shape, a soft glow slowly merging together until it became Danny, his expression strained but mirroring my frantic gaze. I surged forward, his presence illuminating the light. "I thought I lost you," I gasped, fighting back tears as my heart soared then sank at the struggle on his face. "No, I'm here," he shouted, but I could see he was still tethered by shadows, flickers of darkness cascading from his frame. He was struggling, clawing through the pain mixed with determination. "Fight them, Danny. You're stronger than this." It felt like a plea and a command all at once. Fear rushed through me as I reached for him, the light flickering like a candle in a storm. "Hold on to what we have. We can break free together." Suddenly, the light pulsed, responding to my words as if it had recognition. In that moment, the shadows shrieked louder, their claws reaching out for Danny, seeking to sever his remaining tether to hope. "No, you don't get to take him," I screamed, channeling every ounce of love and fear I felt, every shared memory of laughter and light into the space around us. In that surge, something remarkable happened. The light responded like an explosion, erupting outward in brilliant waves that collapsed the vicinity of shadows trying to reclaim him. The air thickened with power, the metal piece glowing brighter than it ever had in my grip. "Together," I urged, desperately reaching for Danny as I felt his warmth fade in and out, his connection to me flickering like that light. "Focus on my voice. We can push them back, claim our light." The shadows convulsed, hissing in response to our defiance, but retreating under the pressure of our unified strength. Danny's eyes widened, a flicker of illumination reflecting back at me. He reached out, and our fingers grasped together, intertwining against the darkness. "Now," he shouted, and we pushed the full force of our energy towards the chaos swirling around us. The brilliance of the light exploded, and in that moment, I could see through the shadows. Not just darkness, but faces of children, lost souls trapped in this malevolent void, swirling around us in cries for help. They needed us. They were counting on us. "Together," I shouted one final time, and Danny joined in. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as we hurled light into the gathered darkness. It felt like a storm erupting unleashed. We were struck by a force of renewal, and for a moment, it felt infinite, boundless. The children's voices echoed with us, strength gathering in their cries as they wove their hopes into ours. The light blazed, scorching everything it touched, and the shadows began to crumble like ash in the wind. Faces of anguish twisted and contorted, but transformed into those of relief. The darkness shattered, and then silence. We stood on the precipice, breathless as the remnants of shadow faded to nothingness. The air was thick, but this time with peace. The oppressive weight had lifted, searing brilliance illuminating everything. "I thought I lost you," I murmured, scrambling to face Danny fully. "I thought I lost you too," he breathed, his eyes full of a warmth I'd feared had been extinguished. But something deeper lingered in the air, a realization unfurling around us. The echoes of the lost children faded slowly, leaving us in a brilliant silence. Our battle was over, but the scars would remain. The lost souls liberated would leave their mark on us forever. A reminder of the darkness that once loomed large between us. The woods around us felt softer somehow, and as we made our way back, weaving between tree branches and roots, I realized it was no longer accursed ground. Camp X would be remembered in whispered tales, but never spoken through the grim lens of fear again. As we stepped into the embrace of dawn, I took Danny's hand tightly. "We did it. Together." "Yes," he smiled, a glint of mischief brightening his features. "And next summer, let us avoid dark forests. Deal?" I chuckled, the laughter carrying on the wind. No darkness could touch us now, and as the sun broke through the horizon, warming everything, I knew we had just begun. Life in Maplewood would go on, but we would carry the weight of our experience with us, our bond forged strong in the heart of shadows. The new day felt bright and free. But deep down, I understood that we would be vigilant. After all, evils seldom die. They wait for another brave soul to challenge the dark. Before you go, I need you to act fast. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will take you to the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm the love it craves. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling end. And you must share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. So don't wait even one more second. Let us keep the magic alive.